Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Majesty Lord Blaster deck profile for September 2024. We've gotten some new cards for the Majesty Lord Blaster deck since the last update I've made to the deck on the channel, and I also haven't updated the deck since the format changes that included the addition of the Energy Generator and the change from the Ride deck to 4 cards in the Ride deck, 50 cards in the main deck. So wanted to make an updated version of the Majesty Lord Blaster deck, focusing on the power of being able to use Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark in one deck together. And as I said, we've also had some new monthly promos for the deck as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the Ride deck, with the Ride deck consisting of the Energy Generator. Our starter is Wingull Brave. When wrote upon, if you want second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Little Sage Marin. When wrote upon by a grade 2 with Blaster and its card name, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 grade 2 card with Blaster and its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you do not reveal a card, choose a Wingull Brave from your soul, and you may call it to rearguard. So you have the rearguard call with Wingull Brave, which can be used with the Blaster Dark that I still prefer to use in the Ride deck. When it's placed on Vanguard or rearguard, you can counterblast 1, retire 1 other rearguard, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it, and this unit gets to drive +1 until end of turn. So you have the added pressure of a twin drive Vanguard attack. If you have basically the knowledge to call out another rearguard beforehand, so then you'll either have the chance to call out Wingull Brave or use the one you called out already to then use with Blaster Dark. And then also for the rest of the Ride deck, the grade 3 being Majesty Lord Blaster, along with the copy we run in the Ride deck. We also run 3 additional copies just for the Persona Ride power in the deck altogether. If your soul has Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark, this unit gets +2000 and critical +1. It's a continuous +2 and critical +1, so it'll always be at a 15k power. A little more difficult for some of the attacks to hit with this card, and on Vanguard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can perform all the following. You put a Blaster Blade from your rearguard into your soul, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it, and you can put a Blaster Dark from your rearguard into soul, and it gets drive +1. So then you'll be attacking with a 15k Vanguard extra critical and also the additional drive +1 that you got from the additional Blaster Dark into the soul also. And just having those copies to use always comes in handy for you to make use of these cards also. And for the other grade 3s, I still like running the 3 Fossado. This is mostly because Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark are very, very counterblast heavy. So having a card that can at least give us some counter charge and soul charge power, the soul charge power to potentially hit one of the cards like Blaster Blade or Blaster Dark to go into the soul to use for the added power for Majesty Lord Blaster. But the main play here is it cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. And then we also on top of that get the counter charge power. For the grade 2s, we're running 4 copies of Blaster Blade. When it's placed on the rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rearguards, and retire it. So you just have retire power with this card thanks to the rearguard pressure that it can provide. If you wanted to use it in the Ride deck, the Vanguard ability is a counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. If you do not retire, draw a card. So that's why I like Blaster Dark a little better. You have that, twin drive power of Blaster Dark in the deck, and you still have the retire power of a grade 2 or greater, which can definitely always hit its target when you use this card on the rearguard. And then also 3 additional copies of Blaster Dark for the retire option, still being able to retire another rearguard to choose one of our opponent's rearguards and retire it. And then on the rearguard during your turn, if your rearguard was retired this turn, it gets +5000 power. So you can potentially put your Blaster Dark at a 15k power to be able to swing with also, which can make up for some of the lone attacks that it may go for also. A lot of the times though, if you want that other rearguard to hit, you can sometimes just keep Blaster Dark, Blaster Blade in the same column, attack with that Blaster Dark, and then place both of them into the soul to use from there. For the other grade 2s, we're also running 4 copies of Knight of Inheritance, Emmeline. When it's placed on rearguard from hand, you soul blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card with Blaster and its card name from among them, call it to rearguard or reveal it and put it in your hand and shuffle the deck. If you put a card to your hand, choose a card from your hand and discard it. It would be so much better if you could put the card into soul, obviously, but just having the search power for the card means you can at least set up the card in your hand to then call out to rearguard and then place into soul to at least gain the additional effect of Majesty Lord Blaster. So I guess I take that back. It is better to add it to your hand, because then you can just use it with Majesty Lord Blaster to put it into the soul to begin with. You don't really need a card to put it into the soul. And on rearguard, when your unit with Blaster and its card name attacks, this unit gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So if you swing with a rearguard Blaster monster, and then your Majesty Lord Blaster, you can have this card at least be 10,000 power more, and a 20k attack without the boost when going up against your opponent. For the grade 1s, we are running 4 copies of Ordeal Dragon. This is the new promo card for the Blaster deck. During your turn, if you have Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark in your soul, it gets plus 5,000, being an ideal 13k booster. And on rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked or boosted, put this card in the soul. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 unit with Blaster and its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. More search power, and we don't really have to use the order anymore, because this provides a non-counterblast use to search out those cards by just checking the top 7 cards of the deck. And then on top of that, having a 13k boost option also. And we're also running 4 copies of Knight of Old Fate Cordiella. On the back row center rearguard, if your Vanguard is Majesty Lord Blaster, this unit gets all the following. On rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted. Counterblast 1, choose up to 1 Blaster Blade and 1 Blaster Dark each from your soul, and call them to rearguards in the same column. So this can help for the added boost power to place Blaster Dark and Blaster Blade Blackout from the soul back onto the field on their rearguards. And if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, all your grade 2 rearguards get boost. So then you could provide the play I mentioned before of your Blaster Blade when called out with Blaster Dark to either provide that boost power to the same unit to attack. So Cordiella helps you get that multiple attack options as well that you can do in the deck. And also the 4 copies of Armor Piercing Knight you gain when it's placed on rearguard from hand. If you have a Vanguard with Blaster, discard a card from your hand, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 units from among them, call them the rear as rest, and discard the rest. So just more setup to potentially get some of the Blaster units onto the field using this card, with the last of the grade 1s being the 4 copies of Aegis Mare Dragon. Once again, since we are running the Mugains, I don't like to run too many orders in the deck, so having the top 2 to be able to call stuff. Normally I don't want to call the Sentinel, but it's better than, just missing out on the investment that you used with your grade 1 Mugain anyway. With the only order that I run in the deck being the 1 copy of Bracing Angel Ladder. You draw a card, put this unit in the soul, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, you get, during your turn, all your Vanguards get plus 5,000, and all your rearguards cannot be chosen, and cannot be put other than to rearguard by your opponent's card effects. Can be put to other than rearguard by your opponent's card effects. So it's more protection, so you can keep your Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark that you call out with cards like Cordiella back onto the rearguards, with this card adding as extra protection. And then for the trigger lineup, we're going with these 7 criticals, 4 copies of Disma and 3 copies of Soil. Now, if you want to run 8 criticals, you can give it a try. I just really like the 4 draws. You need that extra draw power in this deck for defensive consistency, and Perobi definitely does help with its additional 5k shield. And then for the heals, 2 copies of Circling Sorceress, the 1 copy of Tear Sorceress, and the 1 Invigorate Sage, with our overtrigger being a Martinoa for the added option for your rearguards to be able to perform drive checks on top of everything else. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, been wanting to update this deck for a while, so happy with the results with the added changes, with the new promos added in as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.